want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac. Tonight, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Indiana Pacers in a game that represents a rematch of the second round last year. We already know there's so many storylines there. Not all of the same players were able to suit up or are on the roster anymore, right? No more Miles Turner for the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton obviously out right now, presumably for the season. And honestly, it didn't matter because all the emotions of that series came flowing right back to me. And I understand that this is the regular season. I understand that, yes, there is not nearly as much on the line, but it was a cup game. So there was some stakes in this one. But I'll tell you what, that was some damn fine basketball. And it started with the return of Darius Garland. Listen, we had a couple of scares, especially in that final quarter. But Darius Garland, in his return, in 26 minutes and 34 seconds of action tonight, Darius Garland would score 20 points and dole out 7 assists on 5 of 12 shooting from the field, including 3 of 4 from three-point distance. The bulk of that came during the first 2 quarters of this game, as this dude was the stabilizing force that we have become accustomed to him being. His command and orchestration of the offense just felt so natural out there. And the Cavaliers as a whole, having him out there just felt a lot more balanced. And one of the things that we've been saying ad nauseum, one of the things I've been referring to ad nauseum has been the dribble penetration. And you saw Darius do that a lot tonight, dribbling inside, probing the defense, looking to attack the interior. And as a result, he drew a lot of contact. And he ended up with 7 different free throw shots tonight, right? 7 of 7 from the line, perfect. From the line. You love to see that. And this is a night in which obviously the Cavaliers as a team managed to attempt 27 freebies, and it has not been a pretty sight for the Cavaliers this season, but tonight was a better, so it was a step in the right direction, especially with Darius coming back when it perhaps your best free throw shooter on the entire roster. 21 to 27, that's not bad. 77.8% from the line. I will take that all the live long day. And as much as I like the presence of Darius out there, it wasn't just Darius that was putting on a show for the fans, right? I feel like I literally have to go right on down the line here because there's just so much to talk about. I suppose I could start with Donovan Mitchell's 32-point game, another performance in which this dude goes over the 30-point mark. 11 of 22 from the field, just absolutely stellar when antagonizing the interior of the defense rather than completely relying on the three-point shot. And speaking of that, the Cavaliers did not take 40-plus triples tonight. 35 triples attempted against 89 total field goal attempts. So you can do the math right there, right? The Cavaliers attempted more shots inside of the arc and especially at the rim than they did outside of it, which is something we have been screaming for. And it's not just simply getting the ball to the bigs, as Evan Mobley would start at center tonight in place of the injured Jarrett Allen, who, they probably just wanted to rest him because of the finger. But they decided to start DeAndre Hunter at the 4, a place where we have become accustomed to seeing him be and play, and Evan Mobley at the 5 alongside Jaylen Tyson, who started tonight at the 3. Listen, I got so much to say about Jaylen Tyson, and I'm trying to contain myself, but I'll keep pushing with the point I'm making before I pivot here. I knew that one of the things that was ailing this team was the lack of dribble penetration, and you can clearly see how much Darius means in that department. in the flow and just getting guys better looks, putting guys in better position around the rim. And that shows, but I think that there has been a clear or has to be a clear mentality change with the offensive flow overall and the reliance on triples, right? When you don't have some of your best shooters out there in Garland, in Strus, in Tyson, in Merrill, you can't always rely on that shot. And so you have to start working your way from outside and well from inside out. So and I love to see that tonight. But Tyson, geez Louise, Jaylen Tyson in his return from the concussion was 6 of 7 from the field. He scored 14 points. He pulled down 8 rebounds, 2 on the offensive glass, doled out 3 assists. And perhaps the best part to me was the floor spacing and energy that this dude brought to the table. Now, through 12 appearances this season, including tonight's game, Tyson is averaging 11.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 1.9 assists. But the best part about it is that he is shooting 51% from the field, including 46.4% from three-point distance. He went from a rookie year in which he just did not look comfortable taking that shot at all to putting it up at pretty damn good volume at almost 5 attempts per game at 4.7 and shooting highly efficiently. He is shooting 46.4% from three-point distance. This dude is 26 of 56 from three-point range. I think it's sustainable. And I think that his absence over these last couple of games, these handful of games, has been sorely missed and sorely underplayed. I honestly feel that if he continues to play the way that he plays, you can make a case for Tyson starting at the 3 and sliding Hunter back to that bench. And that's not because I don't believe in Hunter, because Hunter had some big sequences tonight too, and he has this season so far. But I think with the bench scoring, the bench scoring output, I think his minutes might be better utilized there. I'm not going to completely lean that way just yet, but it's starting to look that way. And especially if Jarrett Allen is available, I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea for Hunter to come off the bench if you need that additional scoring output on a night where your starters might not have it, and to better balance things out because of that self-creation that he brings to the table. Because when everybody's healthy, Darius, Donovan, Evan, those guys are going to get theirs. And then the players in that starting unit who are likely to be sacrificing are going to be Hunter and Allen, presumably. And with self-creation being a huge skill that Hunter brings to the table, I think you might be able to consider that being the case. And I know Hunter wants to start, but I don't know. It's starting to feel like Tyson fits very, very well in that starting unit at the 3. And I know we have seen him start games at the 2 too, but I'll tell you what, maybe it was just the stabilizing presence of Darius Garland. And speaking of stabilizers, listen, y'all know what I'm about to say, or at least I hope you do, because I've been preaching about it all season long. Lonzo Ball, oh my God. Listen, on a night where Lonzo does not score a single point, his impact, fingerprints, energy, it's all over. It is all over this box score, right? It's felt on the film, it's visual, and in the box score stats, it's felt. Like I don't even know how or what type of words to put it in. Without scoring, this dude he made such a huge impact. His stat line for tonight is going to read 5 assists, 7 rebounds, and a block, right? It was a plus 12 out there. I just think that when you look at what Lonzo brings to the table, you can look past the scoring. Yes, I understand. He is not Ty Jerome. He is not somebody that's going to he's not somebody who's often going to win you a game based purely upon his ability to get hot out there. But what he will do is put his players, his teammates in good position as he threw open many players tonight. He's going to find the open man. He's going to give it his all on the glass. I mean, listen, 7 rebounds out of a point guard, that's always going to be a treat. And I think that he is always working in that regard. And on the defensive end, right, there was a handful of sequences tonight where I honestly believe that the Cavaliers were in prime position purely because of his abilities on that end of the floor. And one of the things that really stuck out to me, I think it was his defensive stand to end that third quarter against Nembhard. I think that was one of the sequences that really stood out to me. I don't know. I understand that people want to see this guy score the basketball. I understand that they want to see the efficiency go up. And believe you me, it's not going to after tonight, as he went just 0 of 2 from the field. But when you're bringing so many other things to the table, I mean, does it really fucking matter? If you got other guys stepping up, if you got Don dropping 30, I mean, listen, Donovan, Darius, Evan, and we'll talk about him in a minute, DeAndre, those guys scored 20 plus each. You got almost, I mean, literally, you almost got 100 points from those guys alone. You got everybody in the starting lineup scored in double figures tonight. It's just crazy to me. It's insane to me. But moreover, the point being that when everybody else is eating like that, and Lonzo's a big part of that because he's out there feeding his guys and setting screens and freeing his teammates up. When that's the case, the scoring doesn't matter as much to me as long as you're bringing some of these other qualities to the table. And listen, there were a lot of times last year where you didn't have that off the bench. If a guy was not scoring, I mean, you may not play him, or if he's having a rough night, his impact is not felt. I can say that for Ty Jerome. I can say that for Sam Merrill at points last year. I could say that for a lot of different players that came off that Cavalier bench. But what I can say about what we saw from Ball tonight is that even when that shot wasn't going in, he made sure to make an impact. And he's done that time and time again this season, despite the efficiency being in the shitter. I mean, it ain't good. It's not good, but I don't really take the stats from an efficiency standpoint too much to heart with Ball, because I know he's doing some of these things that lead to winning. He's just a winning player out there, a winning basketball player. And I think as long as you can keep this dude upright, we're cooking. And I understand that we're talking about a player that does not belong in the same sentence with health or has never played playoff basketball. And I mean, that's not it's not something that is probably well known from a lot of people, because Lonzo's been in the league 7+ years now. This will be his first playoffs. If he makes it that far, if he gets healthy, if he stays healthy, because he is healthy right now, as long as that's the case, then I think he's going to help this team's ceiling be elevated. I think he is going to be one of those playoff risers out there. And he's in a perfect place for the team to be able to manage him. Entering tonight, he was playing 23.2 minutes per game. Now, that's a minute more than he did last year with Chicago. But you watch his Chicago film and you watch his film this season, and you tell me which Lonzo looks healthier, which one looks like he's moving better, which one looks like he's playing with more intensity out there and more motivation. To me, it's hands down the 2025-26 version of Lonzo Ball. He is moving like we have not seen him move in years, like pre-injury Lonzo Ball. We're talking first year Chicago, his stint in New Orleans. We're talking about that Lonzo. That is the type of player that I feel like we are getting, like not necessarily to that extent, because, the scoring was there. The efficiency was much better, obviously. But as long as we're going to be patient with this guy, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. And I know there are people out there that think he is just not a good basketball player, or he doesn't necessarily add as much as I'm saying he does, or, he's washed, things of that nature. But to that, I simply say you have to look at the full scope of what this man brings to the table, because he looks like a seamless fit. And it's not just, it is not just simply the fact that he looks like a glue guy out there. It's he legitimately, in terms of leadership out there, he looks like he is commanding and orchestrating the troops. And I understand that it's not always going to be pretty, but I think that as long as you're willing to be patient with him, it's going to be good. Ball was just out there balling tonight, and he's just one of those guys that I think if you had the opportunity to play with as an NBA player, you would love to be on the court with this guy, especially if you're a shooter, because he's going to put you in good spots out there. He's going to put you in good positions to score. And that's exactly what he did on a number of plays tonight for just about everybody that he that he had the pleasure of playing with. So credit to Lonzo. And as long as he keeps it up, I don't think people are going to have too much reason to complain about the inefficiency from the field or beyond the arc. Guess who we saw tonight, guys? Larry Nance Jr. Larry played 19 minutes and 11 seconds of action, and it was good and bad at points. There were certainly some sequences that I did not love, but I found it interesting that Larry entered the game over Thomas Bryant. And I know Thomas did see the court tonight. He played 1 minute and 12 seconds against his former team. But honestly, I thought that Kenny would have leaned on Thomas over Larry entering this contest. I'm not going to say that I hated the decision, but honestly, I did want to see TB out there more than he was. I appreciated the fact that Naquan Tomlin played 11 minutes, 36 seconds tonight, and the plus minus won't tell you, but I did feel like he continued to bring the energy. I know he didn't really make a huge impact in the stat sheet, and honestly, it's not something that he's going to do on a night-to-night basis. But what I can say is I was a little surprised with the minutes distribution tonight in regards to those three players, because Larry got 19, Quan got a little under 12, and Thomas plays a little over a minute. So I was scratching my head at that one. I'm not really sure what to make of the back end of the rotation at this point, especially in regards to the reserve bigs, or the reserve front court rather, because it kind of seems like Kenny is winging it in specific games, or he's just going with what is needed in a particular game. And I understand too that, right, Jarrett Allen is not out there, but I thought that would have been more of an opportunity to get TB a little bit more time than he was given tonight. But listen, we won the game. I'm not going to complain too much. I'm not going to nitpick too much. I did want to see Thomas Bryant get some more time out there, but I'm not going to complain, because there were certain sequences out there that I appreciated from Larry, and then there were others where I'm like, man, this does not look good. But that's where I'm out, at least in regards to that's where I'm at in regards to the back end of the rotation. Somebody else who really, really impressed me tonight was Evan Mobley. Listen, he is, whatever you believe of Evan, because Evan has taken a lot of flack this year. Some of it is fair, some of it a little unfair. I've seen so much being said about Mobley on social media as of late. And listen, yes, I'm not gonna deny it. Through the first 16 games of this season, Mobley has been a bit disappointing. And I think that is not an unfair statement, considering what we wanted to see out of him. But there are performances this year that you can look at and say, hey, he's improving. There are things that he is getting better at. And one of the things that I really appreciated about Mobley tonight was his willingness to be aggressive and get inside and get to that rim. And lo and behold, it coincides with Darius Garland being out there. Mobley finished the first quarter alone with 12 points, which tied his most points in any single period this season. And he would score 10 plus for the fifth time this year in a quarter, which is something you really, really love to see, especially to start a game off. Getting Mobley involved early, getting him touches early on is critical for his offensive development. And I thought that one of the things that really stood out to me the most was just the ability to get inside. He had a number of sequences in the painted area, and front court touches have been a big talking point for Mobley this year because he's had less of them. And some of that does have to do with Darius not being out there and setting them up. But he had a number of sequences tonight in the painted area where he's going up, he's banging down low with the bigs, he's jamming it home, right? And yeah, he got rejected, I think, once or twice by Isaiah Jackson. Maybe my memory served me incorrectly, but he was still going up and he was drawing contact. And I thought that was huge because that hasn't always been the case in each one of these games. And it was a key reason why he got 11 free throws. Now, again, continues to miss them. I hate that. It's mental at this point. You can't tell me that it's not mental. But simply getting them, I think that's big within itself, because Mobley is clearly drawing that contact. He's inviting that contact at the rim, and you want to see that continue progression from Mobley, especially when you're talking about the fans and calling him soft and saying that he needs to get back on the block and whatnot. This is the type of presence that you want to see out of Mobley, especially when you have so much other talent out there, right? He wasn't relying on a 3-point shot tonight. He took just one and he made it, which was awesome to see. But I love the work that he got done in the interior as the center tonight in his 34 minutes of action. Mobley would finish with a stat line of 22 points, 12 huge rebounds, which is not something like the double-digit rebounds is not something you've seen from him much this year. 4 assists as he was moving the ball, rejected 4 shots out there, was an efficient 7 of 13 from the field, and was 7 of 11 from free throws. Now, again, the Cavs as a unit have to continue to improve in that area, but I'm not going to bitch at him too much because Darius, like I said, 7 of 7, Don, 6 of 8, Mobley, 7 of 11. I'm not going to sit here and be too mad about that, especially in a win. Now, it was getting a little dicey in that fourth quarter, and I started to get a little bit of a flashback to the playoffs, but I knew that as long as they were able to settle down, and a couple of players got them there. Lonzo settled them down. DeAndre had a couple of nice sequences towards the end that settled them down. And that was really awesome to see because we haven't seen this team put together a 2-minute. Well, we've seen them do it a few times, but not too many complete performances. And I thought tonight was about as complete as you can get. And yeah, they did start to take their foot off the pedal a little bit. And you saw the starters in there late, as this was an NBA Cup game and point differentials matter. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to be too upset about the fourth quarter as a whole, just because we know that this Indiana Pacers team, you got to pay them their respect. They are a team that just does not quit, even with the injuries that they have. So I'm sitting here and I'm just enjoying the game of basketball that was played overall tonight. And it felt like everybody that was out there contributed in some form or fashion, some more than others. But I was not angry at this team at all, even though the bench as a whole didn't really contribute too much in terms of the points. You got 4 from Wade, you got 4 from Larry, you got 2 from Craig, you got 2 from Tomlin. That is 12 points from your bench. It's got to be better against better teams, obviously, but whatever gets the job done. And how much bench scoring are you going to need when 4 of your 5 starters are scoring 20 plus? I mean, seriously. DeAndre with 20, Evan with 22, Don with a magnificent 32, and then Darius coming back tonight with 20 himself. It's beautiful to see out there because you have all these guys that are combustible. You have a really, really, really good complementary piece that doesn't need the ball in his hands to contribute in Jaylen Tyson, who's just been a knockdown shooter to begin this season. And it just works. And I cannot wait until we get some more of these connective pieces back out there, right? Y'all, I am dying to see a bench lineup that consists of Lonzo, Sam, Max, Strus. I mean, you can Jaylen Tyson out there if you're not going to start him, and then that 5th guy. I don't know. They're going to probably switch it up. It's some nights it might be Wade, some nights it might be Larry. You might get some Naquan Tomlin action in there, but they have so many connective players in terms of passing that it's just going to be some fun basketball to come, assuming that they can stay healthy, will get healthy and stay healthy. And I think we're all looking forward to that. But just watching some of the sequences out there tonight, watching Lonzo throwing some of these beautiful no-look passes and him just hitting guys on fake triples, right? It's beautiful to watch. And I don't know what else I can say in that regard. So I'm just going to hop into the chat before we get out of here. Let's see. Hailstone says, Donovan, the greatest to ever do it. Chaz Erica says, tonight, I just want to say at one point, none in garbage time. Tyson, Porter, and Tomlin were all on the court. HJ17 Gaming says, Jaylen really took the Ty Jerome role. I'm loving it. Yeah. Neverbloom says, Jaylen, motherfucking Tyson. Yes, man. Jaylen's performance tonight may go underscored because 4 of the 5 starters scored 20 plus, but don't let that fool you. He was really important in this game, especially on the glass. Jaylen coming back, pulling down 8 rebounds. That's been a missing element in this offense. Jaylen's ability to provide big energy out there and timely cuts and that off-ball shot making. That is all going to mesh very, very well when this bench gets really healthy. Jake Hill 736 says Donovan, Garland, Donzo, Hunter, Mobley, such an amazing lineup. Got tears in my eyes. I wonder if this could be a playoff lineup or something. I mean, you're going to see. You saw that last year. Well, not with Zoe, obviously. I think what you're going to see with Zoe specifically in lineups, because we already know what the playoff starting five will be. It's likely to be Donovan, Darius, Donovan, Hunter, Mobley, and Allen is your starting five. But where things get really, really crazy, because you could do some funky things out there. Maybe because Lonzo has already done this year. Maybe you play Darius, Donovan, Zoe at the 3, Hunter at the 4, and then Mobley at the 5 in certain lineups. And to people who think I'm crazy for suggesting that, Lonzo has actually played a good amount of minutes at the small 4 this year. He actually, entering tonight, has played over 20% of his minutes at the small forward for the Cavaliers this year. He's played 301 total minutes entering tonight, 20% of that, right? And in the point differential in those lineups, the team is plus 18.8. They have a defensive rating of 107.1, which is extremely good. I mean, the offensive rating is 126 when he is at the 3. So I don't think it's crazy to think that maybe Kenny throws a wacky lineup out there. And yeah, we don't always love 3-guard lineups, but Zoe has shown enough versatility to play there. So to suggest Darius, Donovan, Lonzo, DeAndre, Allen, that's a crazy good lineup in terms of balancing, because not only do you have a supreme amount of ball handling, you have a supreme amount of shot making, on-ball creation, you have defense, you got rebounding, just about everything, and versatility all the way around. And you have good matchups from a size standpoint. I think that when you're talking about versatility, that's one of the biggest things that this dude brings to the table. But I'm really interested to see what Kenny Atkinson does, assuming these guys are healthy entering the playoffs in terms of the lineups, because you got a lot more versatility than you did last year. D Jackson says Wade's turnaround 3-pointer was nice. Donovan was like, shoot it, don't pass it to me. Yeah, I think I kept hearing it. Might have been Donovan. Somebody was yelling shot clock, or something like that out there. Dr. Claw says, so glad that Tyson is back. Yeah, Claw. Tyson's impact out there, I mean, we chat about this in the group chats, but Tyson, he has this uncanny ability to step out there and just make himself a big presence, whether that be through the rebounding that he has been showcasing this season in leaps and bounds, whether that be the continued progression of his off-ball shooting, or simply just energy out there on the defensive end. The only thing that really pisses me off is that Tyson is not allowed to play nearly as physically as some of these other wings out there. They call him for the craziest things. And listen, I get it. Sometimes he can be a little too handsy out there, but I honestly think that the way that he has reffed, it makes it very difficult to set a tone. And I just don't get it, because Lou Dort's allowed to play football out there. Isaac Okoro kind of suffer from the same fate. But I think that if Tyson was allowed to play as physically as other wings, I mean, listen, Nimhard, I mean, they just got so many guys. Matherin, these guys will play very, very physically, and they don't necessarily draw as much foul calls going in the wrong direction as Tyson has. And I think that will probably improve as his career goes on. But that is one thing that does piss me off. Rap God Reloaded says, Zoe's passing is elite. Indeed it is. And he's doing all of this without being a really big driver of the basketball, which is not always an easy thing. The way that he's made plays for others, it's creative at times. Floyd Phillips second says, I believe Tyson should continue to start, move Hunter to the bench. I think I already mentioned this. I think I see the rationale behind that, assuming that you can continue to see him, elevate his game in that starting lineup and providing good off-ball spacing. I love it. Spody Thought says, get to the postseason healthy, then go all out. Why bust your ass now, then be no good for the postseason? That's counterproductive. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Listen, I think that in these cup games, you're going to see it get really competitive from a scoring standpoint as point differentials matter. And you can make a case that the Cavaliers already had this game won before they took their starters out, obviously. But I think that in terms of motivation, this is one of the things that the NBA has tried to do to make these games matter a little bit more. And I know that a lot of fans share the mentality that the regular season doesn't matter, and that the postseason is what ultimately ends up deciding all things. And while that is true to a degree, I think the regular season still has its fair share of worth. And I think one of the things that I have wanted to see out of this team is simply just effort. And I think you saw that tonight almost from start to finish. There was a couple of lapses, but I'm not going to beat them down too much because basketball is a game of runs. Provider says, thanks, Matt. Got to go. Go Cavs. Thanks. I appreciate that. Trevi says, hit that like button for my G. Yeah, man. Do as he says. I appreciate you guys. Even if you're on X, do your boy a favor. Hop over to YouTube real quick. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. You never know how much it helps your boy out. Ha3 says, this cracks me up every single time I see it. They said, Lubricant Zoe might actually have to be the appropriate name on Full Velocity tonight. Listen, I don't know what it is about that, but it just makes me hella uncomfortable. But listen, as long as Zoe is performing, I'm not going to take any umbrage to it. Lubricant Zoe, that's an interesting one. Trevi says, Don is for sure playing at a MVP pace so far, but the rest of them cats are balling out too. Jokic is still crazy. Just the facts of, playing in a league that's so deep. I don't know when we're going to see another American MVP at that, but I'll tell you this, the Kia MVP ladder, the most recent one had Donovan in the top 10 at 10. If that tells you anything, he has played some damn good basketball this year, and you have needed every single ounce of that out of him. But what I don't want is for Don to be burnt out. So hopefully with Darius Garland returning, hopefully with Tyson back, and with more and more players starting to be returning to full strength, because I know Sam's not going to miss much time, hopefully, and Jarrett was probably just a precautionary measure tonight. And we'll get Max back next month, hopefully. I don't think we're going to be in any danger of Donovan grinding himself into the ground before the postseason begins. And as long as you can do that, I think you're going to be good. But, man, what a wonderful performance from start to finish. And, again, this is against a Pacers team. I do have to at least point this out. That is down some very, very key pieces. That much is certain. I do have to keep it a buck. No Tyrese Halliburton. That's one of the biggest losses for a team that you can suffer. I mean, he means so much to that team, but they still got some talented players over there when you're talking about Pascal Siakam and Ben Mathurin, right? And Andrew Nembhard. These are all players that I think that the Indiana Pacers are heavy believers in. But at the same time, I think there's no question, right? A healthy Cavaliers team should be able to beat them. But what I do love about this Pacers team, objectively speaking, is they just have they don't fuck around. They really do not fuck around, and they never give up. They will continue to play. They're like, I don't know, man. They're just like Energizer bunnies out there. So I do have to give them their fair share of credit for that, because this is good. They entered this season with it likely being a gap year. Same kind of situation that Boston finds itself in. And Boston, make no mistake, I think they have enough talent on that roster to get to the playoffs. But the ceiling is, inconsequentially lower than it was last year, obviously, with the Tatum injury. And the same can be said with this Pacers team that has absolutely struggled out of the gate in this Eastern Conference. As entering tonight's game, I mean, they entered at 2-14. So the Cavaliers, it's sitting at number 3 in the East. I mean, it would have been a shame. It would have been embarrassing had they lost this game. That's just me being frank, right? You're talking about a 2-win team. So they had little choice but to win, or we would have been clowned. And Cavaliers would have not heard the end of it from not only analysts but fans too. So um, I think that if you're going to have expectations entering a matchup like this, I think it was okay to put them in the proper context. This is a game that the Cavaliers should have won, and they absolutely did. So, but I do got to give credit where it's due. Indiana definitely tried to step up in this one, and there was a certain point in that fourth quarter where they started to creep back into it. Talking to Grubman Media says, who cares if Halliburton wasn't there? They didn't care about us having injuries last year in the playoffs, so why should we care about their best players out? It's not necessarily about caring. It's about respecting the fact that their best player is out. And we know that Halliburton has a very DG-like impact on what they do, especially if they don't have Miles Turner anymore either. It's about simply respecting the fact that that team just does not give up. And we saw it last year in the playoffs when they were down and they managed to, come back on Cleveland. We've seen them do it against other teams. We saw them compete really, really and get really close to a finals victory without Tyrese at points during Game 7. So it's just me giving them their respect. And he also says they didn't have no respect for us, so why should we respect them? Listen, you're entitled to respect whoever you want to respect, but me just being a fan of basketball and a fan of players who honestly, no matter who's out there, show heart and hustle, I respect that. I respect the mentality of not giving up, objectively speaking. So, I mean, it's up to you, but to me, I don't know, man. I respect the hell out of what they do over there, regardless of if they respect the Cavaliers, because I don't think that it was necessarily Indiana that was doing that. I think that Indiana fans, it's much more so Indiana fans, if you're talking about respect. I think there's a lot of healthy respect for what they do over there. It's just the fans, the Indiana fans are the ones chirping. Talking to Grubman Media says, I'm just saying that we need to start meeting teams how they meet us because they damn sure are meeting us like that. Listen, again, I'm saying it's not the Pacers. Rick Carlisle and company, they know who they are facing off against. They respect the fact that Cleveland was injured last year. They understand that. It's more so the fans. So you got to look at it from that perspective. You got to put things in the proper perspective. Neverbloom says, yeah, Don and Tyrese dapped each other up after game. Yeah, I mean, these guys, they're cool off the court. They have a healthy amount of respect for one another. I think that people get so caught up in what fan bases are doing. And that's where things are lost. And I understand, as Trevi says, they talk a lot, though. They was on the bench screaming after anything happened. I don't respect them either. Listen, what bench doesn't do that? Cleveland does that too. If you watch a lot of these games out there, watch the Cavs bench. They do a lot of the same things. It's not just Indiana that does that, especially when they're not on their home court. They're going to do it. All teams do. You gotta look a little bit closer. But overall, I was really satisfied with what we saw out of them tonight collectively. And I think that as long as they continue to keep these good efforts up, right, these good habits, they're going to be trending in the right direction. And they're not even fucking healthy yet. This was a step in the right direction, getting Darius back tonight, getting Tyson back tonight, but we still don't have Sam out there, the absolute flamethrower. We still don't got Max Strus out there, who is one of the best overall connective pieces that we can offer on that bench. And he's a very underappreciated player, but we're not even playing at our full capacity yet. That's what I'm trying to say. And I cannot wait till we get there. But as always, tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, I can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. If you want to support the show in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. Hell, you can do it on YouTube too for as little as $1 a month. But even if you don't, your boy's still going to be here making the content because I know that we both love this team. Go Cavs.